Welcome to A Comic Book Look, your weekly TV show on comic books and anything relating to comics. We're coming live from Sioux Falls, and I got my co-host John like always, and as you can see, we got some new partners in the house. We're going to have a fun episode today. We're going to talk about Batman Year One, the animated film that just came out recently based on the Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli graphic novel, and it originally took place in the regular Batman books. And we are fresh off of it. We just got done watching it. So first I'll let these guys introduce yourselves. Who are you?
I'm Corbett Miner. I'm a writer and artist and neighbor.
Neighbor. So you like comics though? You read comics,
yes, I've been reading comics all my life.
And just for the record, what's your preferred comic?
He's trying to say Marvel. I'm a Marvel boy.
All right.
I am not alone in the world. Thank you.
It's horrible.
Except I'm drinking out of the Wonder Woman cup.
I gave him that. Made sure he had that. All right, Brady, tell us about yourself and your comic life.
Brady Van Bakeren, and it's been only a couple of years. I heard they were going to kill Bruce Wayne off, so I figured I better start reading comics. And for the record, DC.
Yes, he's my DC.
But I am not biased by any means. I read whatever I get my hands on.
Which is the best way to do it. Yep, me too. But yeah, we figure it was, time. You're tired of listening to me and John constantly talk about this nonsense. So we'll bring some fresh voices in here and some, fresh ideas.
Nonsense. Yeah. Off the press nonsense. Okay.
But, so let's start it off. I think we all have a little bit of history with the graphic novel, or, the story of Batman Year One when it came out in the comics. I've read it. I know Brady's read it. Corbett said he's read a little bit. John flipped through it as we watched the movie, of course.
Followed along pretty well, didn't it?
It did. It was crazy, yeah. A few oddities here and there. The reporter's name was different. It was Jackie in the book. What was it, Vicky?
Vicky Vale. They had to bring Vicky Vale.
So, a few differences here and there, but I thought it was pretty cool. It was pretty easy to follow along with, so kudos.
Yeah. Good. So, overall, we haven't talked at all about this. We kind of made sure that we weren't really talking about the movie and what we thought of it. So, let's start with, on the end, what'd you think, Corbett?
Well, I come to Batman pretty much through animation anyway. I was watching the 90s cartoon, so I'm comparing to that a lot, which kind of took its toll from the 80s Batman from Tim Burton.
For sure.
But I enjoyed it. I liked it a lot. I thought that Gordon kicked some serious butt in that one, and
yeah,
nice change of pace.
Yeah, it's nice to see Gordon get
different
some shots.
Of him.
Yeah, like, rather than just standing around going, "Batman, I need some help."
Exactly.
Click.
Yeah. And I like the interpersonal stuff between his his family and his wife, and the things that he screws up on. He's not perfect.
Yep.
And overall, I thought it was really well done. The animation style was subdued,
Simple,
but effective.
I agree.
Much like the graphic novels animation, his art was like that as well. So,
yeah. What'd you think, Brady?
I'd give it like an 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. Again, the only big problem I had would be the voice of Batman. It just, he didn't sound bad, but it just for some reason it didn't have that tone to it. Like the Bruce Wayne part, I could see it, but the Batman part was just, it was here when it should have just been like here. But of course, I'm a Conroy fan. No matter what. But other than that, no, the animation was just like the graphic novel or comic itself. Simple but clean. All the other voices pretty well done, and of course you got Breaking Bad as Gordon, which
Bryan Cranston.
You can't.
he would have made a great Batman voice.
He almost should have, but I think they, it was almost a Gordon story. So.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is, which I'm sure is what people are going to complain about. Well, this is a Batman. Wow, kind of, but it's. No, I thought it was very well done.
And I agree, totally. You know that drives me crazy. We'll continue on though. We'll fight on through.
We'll fight on through.
But I agree with you guys. I mean, I thought it was awesome. I mean, they kept the color palette that David Mazzucchelli and I can't remember who did the colors in that, but like the art was, you could tell, was derived from that graphic novel, or from the original story. The color palette was very muted to kind of show that it wasn't like present. It was kind of in the past. I do agree with Brady that I'm a Conroy fan as well. I mean, I know Corbett is as well. That's the best Batman voice, the best Batman interpretation ever that we've been able to see in TV or comics or movies for actual voice. It's the best. So we're spoiled. We had that for so long. When you get these new people as Batman, it's different. But luckily, this was like, even though it's Batman Year One, I mean, this is James Gordon Year One with Gotham, almost more than it is Batman Year One. I mean, Gordon steals the show. He has way more scenes. It's basically a story almost derived from his personal relationships, and I think that's really cool. And since Bryan Cranston was Gordon, I mean, Bryan Cranston is an amazing actor, and his voice was perfect as Gordon. So I'm glad that he wasn't Batman in the sense that because
we would have gotten less of him. And
Batman barely talked. Like that was like, even though he had bad, I guess I wouldn't say it was bad at all. Just not what I was used to, not as good as it could be. It was nice because Batman is he doesn't, when he is Batman, he maybe has a total of 10 lines. I mean, he's not talking a lot at all.
Well, even with the movies, I've always thought that, it's not who can play Batman, it's who can play Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Because you put a person in the suit, then they're Batman.
Exactly.
But then it's the pulling off the millionaire playboy with the troubled psychopathic tendencies.
Exactly.
The guy had that swag to his voice when he was Bruce Wayne, but that was like one scene.
Yeah. Yep.
But he did a good job on it. So
yeah, I mean, luckily there wasn't a lot of him, So because there wasn't a lot of talking. It told the story and it left it up to the different storytelling devices, whether it be like an action fight or what's going on. But overall, I did think it was cool. How about you, John?
Actually, I really did like a lot about it there. We've been talking a lot about Gordon, so I'll just give my 2 cents on that and get to the rest of my review. But Gordon, it was so cool to just see him like as a person, you know what I mean? Like, he's not behind the desk, he's not wearing the trench coat and tie all the time. But, he's getting out there, he's throwing punches, he's making out with some random gal in the rain, But what a gentleman, he puts his arm around her, So he's got that going on. He's a dad, so we kind of see him grow as a character. It's a boy. Cool, so it's kind of cool to witness that moment. We don't get a lot of that with the 90s cartoon. We don't get a lot of that with some of those comic books, I mean, we might have had a few windows here and there, but generally he's more older and just more, behind the desk. So it's cool to see him, where he came from. Coming into Gotham. I really appreciated that introduction, actually. So, I mean, that's my first time reading the novel and also watching at the same time. So, but I really did appreciate that. Same thing with Batman, too, where he came from. That amateur scene of handling those kids on the exit stairway. Just getting kicked and everything, almost went bad, taking on the cops.
Almost drops the kid to death.
Yeah, I mean, he was just, oh boy. And refers to himself as an amateur, so it's just a big learning curve. Really cool. I appreciate
gets
it.
Shot badly and
this is not the Batman that we typically see, so it's, he's a person. It's just, I think it's great.
You can argue that what he is now.
Well, in the film.
Yes.
No, but it's just cool overall. I really liked it. Learning also about the corruption in the police department was interesting angle too. I thought, because Gordon's kind of like, I don't like my job, but I'm gonna work through it. Gordon's very smart as a character with how he handles himself. Keep my mouth shut, learn about everybody around me. Very perceptive guy. So. I don't know. I liked it. You guys know I've always been more about characters and stuff, and I love learning about that kind of stuff. So
for me, there was a couple things that I wish I had more of, which is a little bit more with Selena Catwoman.
Yes.
And her friend, who you don't really know.
Yeah.
Holly.
You could have left her out of it. You could have left her out completely, and it wouldn't have made any difference. And for that matter, you could have left Catwoman out, and it wouldn't have made any difference. And that should have done more with that, and I think they should have done more with Harvey Dent, because there was obviously a connection there where he's like giving Batman the scoop of where the bad guys are, because that's how he's finding them.
Exactly.
So where was the connection? How did he come up? How did they get together first? And then
it's almost like they treat Harvey Dent as an Easter egg for other people who are like, you know, fans of Two-Face and know that Harvey Dent is Two-Face. When in this, he's just a random DA.
Boom.
And that's
gone.
You know, and that's all you really need.
But Batman, he's already talking to Batman. Like he's like, these are where the guys are. Like, and not giving them up to Gordon. And
but they didn't. It was Bruce Timm's not much for. Here's the story, what we have. Let's add a bunch more to it.
Yeah.
It's what's in the book is what you get in the movie.
Which, as comic fans, all of us
it's kind of like I wish they'd have more, but then when they add more, we bitch and moan.
Yeah, exactly.
Why did they do that? That was stupid. That
and
wasn't in the book.
And so I can.
Or they should have not put it in the book.
Yeah, but the book is so good. I mean, as a whole, I've always considered Year One to be like one of my favorite Batman books. I love kind of the voice around it. I love when Frank Miller doesn't do crazy with Batman and does regular Batman, and that's what he's doing here. I like how there's no blue suit involved. It's, you know, a black suit. It's still dark and gritty. He's still skipping over all the hokey Batman stuff that it doesn't even make you think of that. There's a really cool story involved in that, and with having it go into Bruce Timm's hand, which, I mean, anybody who's followed, you know, the animation, I mean, that's who did the original animated series as well. I mean, he's been with Warner Brothers Animation since then, and I'm a Bruce Timm fan now. You know, I mean, everything he does, I mean, I trust in what he does. He's been able to do these reinterpretations of these comics and do them in a really cool way, where he's still able to pull a little bit from all these different things and then still condense it down into this, you know, 90-minute, you know, format that Warner Brothers is, you know, making them do in case they ever need to show it on TV, so they can do that with commercials in a 90-minute feature. And so that, I wish sometimes it would be a little bit longer so we got a little bit more, you know, like Catwoman and Harvey Dent. And I can see why they had to just throw, you know, they have to put some other Batman things in it, so they have to add Selina. And
I didn't mind her. I actually thought she was intriguing. I actually did like that she started out as like a prostitute and moving on to things, but it almost seemed like it needed its own spin-off or something, something to tie her in with the greater story.
Well, tying that in is...
Did you watch that? I
haven't watched it yet. Have you watched it yet?
No, I didn't.
Tying into that, Corbett, which would make you happy, is on the DVD that is coming out, DC Presents, or I can't remember what they call it, but they have a short with all of their DVDs. And the shorts are usually better than the feature films almost always.
Yeah.
Jonah Hex, Green Arrow was awesome.
Yep.
The Shazam Superman one was awesome. Black Adam one. So those shorts have been phenomenal. And on this one, Catwoman had her own short.
And it was written by...
was it Paul Dini?
Paul Dini.
Yeah, Paul Dini.
Yeah, because I watched a little interview, and I think Bruce Timm's like, yeah, we had this story from Paul Dini. We paid him to write it, and it just kind of sat, and they realized they needed a couple more minutes for this, so they figured, well, we'll just use this. So they threw it on the DVD.
And the person who played Catwoman's voice, Elijah Dushku, or I'm completely doing that wrong.
From Buffy, I know what you're talking about.
Exactly, from Buffy and Dollhouse and whatnot, Jay and Silent Bob's movie. But you know, she's also a good actress. That, you know, I like the voice for Selina. Selina was not, you know, in any way where we kind of saw her in the new reboot where she's like dependent on Batman. You can tell she is not wanting to be with Batman at all, and she's very strong in her own will, and her and Batman haven't met to have that kind of relationship that they, you know, carry out through forever, and like right now is, you know, very strong.
So, are you referring to the last issue?
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't buy it.
What do you think that makes Batman so enduring? I mean, he's one of the comic characters that's been around. He's one of the original.
Yeah, and it's Batman. I mean,
it's Superman, Batman. They started it.
And I would say, arguably, Batman is the most popular character, because I would say, in terms of our current,
just because of the last couple
modern
movies,
day,
yes.
our modern day, Batman is more popular than Superman.
For now.
Well, he did bring it back in. I mean, again, you're starting with the '89 movie,
yep,
the '90s cartoon. All of that brought Batman back up from. because people thought Batman as the '60s TV show.
Yep.
When you said Batman, you thought Adam West, and then for a while you thought Michael Keaton, and then you wanted to forget the rest of them until the new movies that came out. But it was Batman that kind of took that route.
Yeah.
But he seems to be pretty enduring for people.
He is. I mean, he's the most enduring, and I mean, the reasons that I've heard other people talk about and that I agree with are going to be, I mean, because he can be played any way. I mean, watch Batman Brave and the Bold. That's a great show, and he's not gritty Batman. He's superhero Batman, and he's blue cape, and he's fun-loving, cracking jokes, and always in the name of justice. And
he's slightly '60s Batman.
Yeah, exactly. And so I mean, everybody talks about it. I mean, The Dark Knight is Frank Miller, who wrote these books, wrote The Dark Knight, which is the big game changer for Batman. The first time Batman's ever looked at in a gritty like stance. They take him into the future, and he's like bitter Batman.
Well, I don't know that it's the first time. I think when Batman started, it was actually fairly gritty then.
Yes, yeah.
And then he got into that more.
We want to sell a lot more.
Totally. At the beginning, I mean, he was just, he would do bad things. He carried a gun, he'd shoot people, and I mean, it was not the Batman that we know. It was, Bob Kane, just putting books out on a bi-monthly basis, trying to get them out,
Yeah, he didn't know what he really had,
and he didn't even care. He was it was just another one of his creations where he ended up ripping off somebody else for the design, and now we still get Bob. Every single
anything with Batman is just like by Bob.
Yeah, and they have to. It has to say that. And so, it's kind of funny that back in those days when Superman hit and those pulps were selling and then the comics were selling, I mean, those producers were just saying, you just make whatever you can, get it out there. Batman, Spider-Man, Catman, and they just went through all the different ones, and Batman just ended up being one that stuck. And he's known for, ripping off some other people for the design. But, in his own right, he's still a legacy, and he's a genius, because Batman, what other things that started that long ago are still so prevalent in, today's culture.
Yeah, it reminds me, too, there's one of my favorite things that puts Batman right in this nutshell, and it's from the graphic novel Kingdom Come, where Superman's trying to get Batman to come help stop the war. Yeah. And he's frustrated with him, and he basically says, when you take everything away from Batman, all you're left with is a person who just doesn't want to see anyone else have to die.
Exactly.
And that is Batman in a nutshell. Like that's completely condensed. And then the second best scene out of that book is when Batman's talking to him, he turns around, Superman's gone. It's like, oh, no. That's what that feels like.
That's my trick. Yeah, no, Kingdom Come, great book,
obviously. Say your first point, that's why you can make him quirky and 60s-ish, and then you can turn around and make him dark and gritty, and that's why it still works.
It does, and it does still work. And you can, all of us fans of, Batman can still like him for all these different other reasons. And I feel like every single person who is a Batman fan probably has kind of a different perception of Batman. I mean, I assume that, like me and Brady, we probably read a lot of the same, Batman books, so we kind of have the perception of the current Batman that has been going on. It was Dick, and now it's Bruce, and, that's kind of what we know, and that would be something that I would have as Batman, where, some person that's not going to, be reading the current books, is going to have the animated, Kevin Conroy voice of Batman, and that's going to be their Batman, which was my Batman until I jumped back into Batman comics. I mean, that was my Batman. Yep. And so the way they played that very dark as well, that all stems from Frank Miller. I mean, that all stems from Frank Miller in the 80s, where, I mean, that came in, Dark Knight hit. I mean, it was, people talk about 1985 because Watchmen and Dark Knight came out, like the two quintessential books that changed it into be the modern age from, the so-called Bronze Age. And so it's a big time, and it's cool to have that history. When you read Batman Year One, it doesn't read like a book from 1985. Like it would, like a normal book. I mean,
I would think if you picked it up now and didn't tell anyone when it was made, people would think that it's a modern thing.
Exactly. Like, let's think of, think of Claremont and Byrne, the books that we read from Marvel. Like Fantastic Four and Alpha Flight from the 80s. Yeah. I mean, you know, there's so much different, you know, talking so much more. You know, this is such a modern way to tell the story.
This was night and day compared to those kinds of books, I'll tell you that.
And they're coming out at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, and so to show that difference, where I remember seeing somebody had online a while ago saying, you know, comic fans will always be the same because, you know, we're known for bitching at like the stupidest stuff, you know, or being complaining. Exactly, or complaining about like something that really doesn't matter. That's, I mean, comic fans are going to point it out and be like, well, actually, you know, Superman could take that. And
I don't sound like that.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Neither do I, obviously.
If you sound like that, let us know.
Watch our show.
Video response.
Exactly. If you say, and then deleted, not accepted. But, you know, that's what comic fans, as general fanboys, are known to do, is complain about the stupid shit. And, you know...
That's 1 out of 100, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But, you know, I overall, I thought it was a cool show. What was gonna... If you could change one thing on it, what would you guys change? Voice. John?
You know, I'd almost have to agree with the Batman voice, too.
Like I said, it wasn't bad, but
it wasn't Kevin Conroy.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, outside of what I've already said about adding a little bit more with Harvey Dent and Catwoman, I think that I would probably change... I don't know. I don't think I would change anything else other than that.
Yeah.
That's a good review right there.
No, I really don't, because, I mean, we all said it was good, and it was. I mean... This is a far cry from, like, Batman, Superman, Apocalypse or something, where it's just, like, a complete crash fest, you know. This is, like...
I did like that one, though.
I love it, too. Oh, I mean, that's Bruce Timm at his action-packed best. And so, I mean, I love that, too. Like I said, I think this is the, like, 11th animated movie that Warner Brothers have put out in this series. I mean, it is... And there's some great movies. I mean, I liked almost all of them. I can't think of one that I didn't like. There
was a Batman one, another Batman anime a couple of years ago.
The Red Hood?
No, it wasn't that one. That one was a good one. I was thinking there was another one that was, it was a straight anime one. That I did.
4-story one?
Yeah, I think so. And
it was anime. That was
I didn't like it as much.
That's because it was 4 directors over from Japan that were doing anime. So it was pretty much their idea of what they would thought. And I agree, like, there's a couple parts of those, you know, that all 4 stories were like, but
yeah,
you have to kind of think about it that they're
and it's also explaining again how versatile Batman could be, because all 4 of those stories is a different Batman.
Yeah.
Every single one, because one's like the old Joker Batman in Gotham Knights, one's like the Batman that's like a mutation, because what that Gotham Knights is, it's like these kids are hanging around and they
see what scares the hell out of them.
Yeah, they say what their interpretation of Batman is, and so, you know, it's just...
I love in the movie we just watched, though, the police sketches of Batman.
Yeah.
Like, the one that he's just a gargoyle and like...
Yeah. I mean, there were so many cool places
Same thing
like
from
that.
the movie, from Begins, they pulled that out.
They pulled a lot from Batman Begins out of that in this movie. They put a lot into it, I could tell. Some of it I've forgotten from reading the comic book. And,
yeah, totally.
Well,
I mean,
the end scene was right out of there. The little bat call, like the bat call thing that he had in his shoe was right out of there.
And right out of there, as in, you know, this came first. You know, I mean, you know,
the comic came first, and they took it from the comic.
Exactly.
Nolan's good, but he's not that good.
Yeah, Christopher Nolan is good. I mean, Inception is awesome, but, you know, his...
All right, no, don't get me started on that. I do not agree completely.
But I do, so you're all right.
It's all right. But anyway, I mean, at least Nolan has a big idea of what he's doing, and he has taken ownership when it came to these new Batman live-action movies. And so he went to Dark Knight Returns, and he went to Batman Year One, because he knows those are the quintessential Batman stories, and that's why he pulled those different pieces to make these amazing Bat films that we've gotten. Can't wait for the next one. You know, it's going to be amazing.
It is last one.
I shouldn't need that, but it is a third of a trilogy, so you just never frickin' know, man.
But it is Christopher Nolan.
Yeah, Francis Ford Coppola can't do it. I mean, let's say that now. I don't know, you know. I mean, there's some Sometimes the third just drops off. Have you seen the third Matrix?
20 years from now, we're not going to be saying he Schumacher did. We're going to be saying he Nolan did. I'm not saying we're going to be saying that.
We better not be.
It could happen.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think it could. I don't think it could ever. I don't think nipples are going to be on Batman. I don't think we're ever going to have pure black light scenes for 20 minutes.
I walked out of after the movie was over, out of that last Batman and Robin movie, and I remember walking back with a group of friends of mine to their house, and everybody's talking about how crappy it was, and then they noticed that, Corbett hasn't said a word since we left the theater. And I was just trying to put in my head, like,
building rage.
What is it that I really, really didn't like about that movie? Because it was horrible. When the best thing about your horrible movie is Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze, you have a bad movie.
I'm gonna put you on ice. He says,
my favorite thing about that was him smoking a cigar as he was doing it. Because honestly, you think about that.
That's not working.
That's hot.
That's not working.
Yeah.
The whole thing about that movie that cracked me up about Mr. Freeze is they took his character from a villain, and they took him all to this big arc to, like, okay, he's kind of repentant, and he's going to go to Arkham, and he's going to, and then right at the very end, they give him back his super suit so he can go kill Poison Ivy.
It's like,
what?
And just like... Schumacher said after that movie that a lot of the designs of the characters were based because they needed to make action figures after every single one. And it was like, okay, dude, if you seriously admitted to doing that with your fucking movie, you're done.
I liked George Clooney as Bruce Wayne. I thought I would love to have seen him through the whole series as Bruce Wayne.
It's not happening.
No, it's not anymore. Because I thought he did a pretty good that Bruce Wayne look.
He had a Bruce Wayne
got that Bruce Wayne swagger, and he could still put it down as
confidence.
Batman. Yeah. But I remember someone asked him about that movie, and he said, "Didn't I kill that franchise?"
Yeah, he knows. But I'm pretty sure Schumacher said his favorite Bruce Wayne, or his favorite actor to play Bruce Wayne, was Val Kilmer. Even after all that,
it's my least favorite.
Yeah, I agree. He got way too into the his Bruce Wayne was Batman. There was no difference between the two of them.
So what do you guys think this being considered Batman Year One? It's supposed to be in continuity as his Year One, and having it be dark and gritty and not including any of these other kinds of Batmans that they have, and just having the straightforward Bruce Wayne, not having any of the other things except being just Batman, no Batcave, no Batmobile, no Batplane.
He had smoke grenades,
yep.
The darts, and then the
Bat we didn't get to see. That wasn't fair, right?
But these are main players in Batman and not a part of his Year One. I mean, do you guys like how they did that, or
the only thing that I kept thinking was, and it's probably fine. Like I wanted him to kind of go, what I could really use is like a gun with a line on it or something like that.
That would be good. That would be
like just to mention, like
he's running down, like climbing up stuff. Like, man, I wish I really could make this a lot easier.
It's like, gosh, a line up there would really work a lot better.
Yeah, because you got to think, like, now Batman doesn't take 3 steps without a grappling hook. I mean, it's like the grappling hook is his. He has 1,000 grapplings with him at all times.
It's probably like Spider-Man leaving lines all over town.
Look outside your window, like,
Batman was here again.
I gotta look, grab on the rope.
They probably sell them on eBay.
Batman's cord, but yeah, for that aspect, I like how they left all that stuff out there, and they stuck down to being Batman Year One, and then having like him get shot, and then be out of it for a little while, and then have Gordon like
3 weeks.
That's one of the things that I would say that I would change about that is one, he doesn't have superhuman strength.
Yeah,
and they kind of chop it down a tree at the very beginning.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he kicks a tree, and the whole a giant tree, and then it just goes.
And he's not John Connor Van Damme. So but I would change that, and I would change that. If he got shot way too many times to be running around for that whole year, and like you get shot one time and you're out a lot longer than that, and he got for some pretty serious wounds, and it's just because you're pretending to put a cast on there doesn't mean they couldn't go. We heard you this, but do you actually have bullet wounds? Because we can have a warrant to check that.
Exactly.
still Batman though, and it's like they can't quite get that.
They never nail him.
Yeah, they're never gonna get quite that close to.
Well, they got him at the end, but then he let it go.
I did like that the ending part was pretty good.
Except for that fall was too high.
Yeah, I thought there was water. Me too. I was like, he grabbed the baby. I figured he was gonna go into a roll and then splash into the water. And then I looked down there like standing in mud. I was like,
So how come the bad guy's the only one that's dead? Like that baby would have been way dead, and like everybody else would have too. So,
but you need to understand, Batman was like 5 steps ahead. He had a certain thing right down there, and everything worked out fine. Him and Gordon.
That would have been a great time for him to go. I knew that cord would have come in handy. Or like use some sort of thing like, wow, that's kind of cool. Maybe I should make something like that. So that's one thing that I really enjoyed about the Batman Begins movie was him just playing with things and trying to come up with stuff like, oh, I got this. Oh, look at those giant things. Oh, that's lame.
When he jumps and he hurts, is like, oh God, I can't do that again.
Yeah,
we got to work this out.
That's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean that's why they pulled so much from Batman Year One for that. I mean.
But like I said, it was more Gordon's story than his story. But I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of a crossover of his story.
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
you didn't get any of like his. Okay, so the bat came into the window while he was dying, and it's like I'm going to be Bat. So well, okay, then did you design your Batman costume, or did you farm it out to somebody, or like?
Yeah, I mean, because they didn't. I mean, this is a Gordon story.
But they've done this is how he starts so many times, so
exactly that's what makes
it
so good.
Refreshing to see,
and brings Gordon into making mistakes and being tough and cleaning up the whole department. I've always been a big fan of Gotham City Police Department. I mean, Gotham Central is like one of my favorite books. Rucka and Brubaker went back and forth with Michael Lark and some other people on art, but it was like one of the greatest books where it deals with like. This is when Jim has already taken over the whole entire, he's the commissioner at this time. And you have like Renee Montoya and other people that are, good cops working under Jim. And they don't want Batman's help. They get tired of Batman, always cleaning.
Thunder.
Exactly. And like how Jim, would have to, he talks about how if he would ever want to move to a different town, I mean, he's a laughing stock because everybody knows that, oh, in your city, you have to rely on a crazy vigilante.
Oh, yeah, well, you have Superman.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, really? Keystone? Yeah, Flash.
That would be a good series. I'd buy that. Yeah. Gordon moves to Metropolis. I'd definitely read that. That
would be... But, I mean, that's like the thing, He does have Batman, and it is such a partnership that, it's really cool to see a Gordon story.
Like then, actually, you asked what we would change. This is what I would change. I would cut the very first scene from the movie. That would be it.
What was the first
scene is when you see Bruce Wayne flying in. Your first person you meet is Bruce Wayne on that plane as he's talking about the city.
Yep.
I would have it be all Gordon on the train.
Sure.
And then maybe like him see Bruce Wayne drive by him or something.
Start with Gordon, and then he's looking out the window and he sees the plane, and then then he goes to Bruce, or just completely no Bruce.
No Bruce. Because it would be take it more hardcore, completely from his own point of view.
It does seem like kind of pointless, like they just threw that in there real quick.
Yeah, it does, and that's like half the talking that Bruce Wayne does, just like in that opening scene. I mean, because Bruce Wayne really, I mean, Batman at the core, they talk about how he operates from midnight to 4 a.m. Batman isn't the person that talks if he has to. I mean, just as long as he never has to talk, he won't. He's going to say something when he needs to say something. So, yeah, I mean, that's when Bryan Cranston as James Gordon, becomes so heavy because, they have to have something to move the story along, and they're using James Gordon as that, and they're having, Batman be almost like a secondary character in Batman Year One.
I would love to see, and I don't know, maybe this is what they did within that book that you were talking about, the Gotham Police. Or
oh yeah, Gotham Central.
But
they could borrow
where, it's just from Gordon's point of view. You never see Batman's point of view, but Batman comes in because he deals with Batman.
You see him talking about
and they're trying to track him down. Like he's here. He knows who he is at the end.
Yep.
But he doesn't know who he is most of the time, depending on wherever comics or animations that you're at. He's trying to track him down. Go through the police line while trying to get through him, track down Batman. He finds the Joker. Gets into all these other things. But then it's all Gordon. It's not Batman.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
And occasionally Batman would guest star by swinging in on a rope and saving his ass.
And that is a lot. I mean, it's not just that's how Gotham Central is a lot. Except it's not just gyms. I mean, it's just like they take the police department as the center, and like you're talking. You'll go 6 issues without Batman being in it, and then he'll be in it, and then everybody's pissed because he stepped in, and they're like, "Do not put that signal on." You know, like that's the big game changer is. We got to put the signal on. And they're like, you know, that's the whole thing with all the other street cops. They're like, we got this. Do not put that signal on, James. And, you know, it's like the battle back. And he does. He won't at times, but then it, you know.
It ends up having to happen.
When Joker's poisoning the water reservoir, you know.
Poison the well.
I do love that they use that, though. They use the classic Batman Joker poisoning the water, I mean, to turn everybody in. You know, it's a trope that's been played a lot, but I like that they use it here. They kind of almost just used it recently in the Detective Comics where we had James Jr. and Jim Gordon coming in, and, you know...
They touched on it, yeah.
Yeah, they touched on it, how, like, all these babies maybe in 20 years are going to be as crazy as Jim Gordon, or James Jr. And, you know, so that's a fun trope that's been played. But, you know, as we've talked here, I mean, you know, you had Harvey Dent, but you didn't have Two-Face. You had...
And I like that. I like that you get that story with it, but I just want a little bit more.
Yeah,
it was like a little bit more, like... Yeah.
And that was it.
But you don't... I mean, you get the beginning of Catwoman, but you don't get Joker, you don't get Penguin, you're not getting Killer Croc, Bane, I mean, all of these things that are going to come later, I mean, do not even touch a piece in here. I mean, what is the villain that you would have liked to see, John?
What do you...
I don't know. What is it?
Poison Ivy.
Of course, Poison Ivy. Why?
Because Poison Ivy's awesome. You know, we were knocking on that movie earlier. Okay, fine. It was a bad portrayal. But it was fun. It was fun. As a movie watcher...
It was not a fun movie.
I told these guys no.
What were you watching?
Oh my God.
See, these guys said it was so bad. I said it went so bad that it went back up to being watchable because it's so funny.
No, that was not even fun.
I'm just saying.
I'd rather ram my head into this wall continuously than watch that.
Just for its time and for me as a movie watcher, keep in mind, I mean, I wasn't an avid DC at that time, so I had no qualms with it, actually. I think Poison Ivy is a fantastic character.
I had a horrible one.
I will watch anything. I will watch any movie.
I will watch the third Matrix movie.
The third Matrix movie is awful. There's no redeeming that one.
Yeah, well, that's still better than Schumacher.
Yes.
That's my benchmark for horrible movies.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I mean, it is the... I mean, like...
like how can you not take be faithful to anything from the comics or even the movies previously? Like there's
like he didn't even know what was going on. It's like, what's Batman? All right, I think I have a good idea.
I got this.
You talk
guy in costume with a bat.
You know what this Batman needs? Some nipples. Nipples on the outside.
He's actually apologized for that. I didn't even believe him when I heard that. I watched that interview. He's like, "Well, I have to apologize for that." I'm like, "You asshole! You're not apologizing for that."
Dude, yeah, we need to stop talking about that as much.
I agree.
We can all agree that Schumacher sucks. Besides John, John liked it.
I have no problem with the movie.
Hate mail. Do you have an email address they can send hate mail to?
No. But all right,
yeah.
To answer Tom's
gmail.com.
Wow. Anyways, to answer Tom's question, Poison Ivy next.
Okay, what is it, Brady? What's your... If you could have added a villain to this mix.
I don't want to be that guy.
Dude, throwing the Joker.
Joker.
I'm such a fan, but like if I want to pick someone like random,
because it's almost like year one though. You want
stupid.
Joker. I mean, I have that feeling too. It's like this is year one. It's
not not Joker, Joker, but who he was before that.
Sure. Yeah,
like to see him as
the Killing
thug,
Joke kind of.
See him as a thug for even a scene would have been,
or
maybe not even something like where they say his name or anything like that, but you see like a big goofy smile from one of the thugs.
Well, maybe he knocked that guy out in the fan.
Yeah, who knows?
That could be. Yeah, I'm gonna start thinking about that. I'm like, yeah, that was it. They did that on purpose. That was for me.
Exactly. How about you, Corbett? If you could add one of the rogues.
Still Two-Face?
Well, not as Two-Face though.
But still, I mean, more Harvey.
Yeah, more Harvey, but as a villain.
You see that evil side of him.
I would think more. I don't know. throwing down the Catwoman again, honestly. She was in it, sort of.
Yeah, but she just wasn't portrayed as the villain yet. You know, she was the beginning. Is also her year one.
But they should have had. I mean, she kind of got in his way one time, kind of.
Yeah.
She should have got in his way somewhere more. Like she would have been robbing the guy and having him come in and bust him up, and then like what the, and then have a tussle, and then something. You know, I don't know.
For sure.
But
and for
outside of the Joker, it would be just more Catwoman.
She might have even schooled him based on their earlier confrontation.
The first one, yeah.
Yeah, they were like dead equals.
No, it was like
off,
kick, and they kind of looked at each other like,
holy.
They were dead equals, but he was injured.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. But it is. It was like Brady said. That was cool how they would like. You know, they were. Like, he was throwing back like, wow, she's good. And she was throwing back like, wow, this dude's good. You know, I like that.
And it's always fun. No, I'm not saying this is a good thing, but it's kind of funny to see a woman get cold clocked. And
it was almost like...
And he didn't flinch. He just cold clocked her.
It's just like, she's
and she was just like, he fucking hit me.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. There's a lot of cool little parts in the movie, though. And a lot of cool little parts where you could tell that they were taking, you know, that exact panel from the comic and bringing it in.
Like, I watched him flip the page and
that was me. Yeah, no, that was cool.
Yeah, you were looking at it throughout. Was there any big parts that you noticed that didn't meet up with it, or?
No, I think overall they did a good job. I mean, there's some days that just weren't mentioned, but it was like a 2-panel thing. You know, it wasn't a big deal at all. So.
Yeah, overall it's definitely a good movie. I mean, you guys got to check it out. If you're out there, it's totally worth watching. I mean, go back and watch all the other animated DC movies as well. I mean, these movies don't get enough credit, and I think that, I mean, I thank God. I mean, Japan has like the biggest, you know, market ever for comic books. I mean, they sell millions of comic books, and they sell anime is just like the biggest thing ever. It's accepted throughout all of everybody else. You know, you can be an 80-year-old person, a 50-year-old person, a 20-year-old person, a 9-year-old kid, and you guys you get into watching cartoons isn't something that people think, oh, you're watching cartoons.
It's an accepted form of media no matter what age you are.
Exactly, and I mean, I wish America was more like that in the way that, you know, grown people could sit around and we could get, you know, animated movies like that are geared more towards us and, you know, have more serious themes. Whereas in these, you know, movies from, you know, Warner Brothers and DC, they've been able to, you know, kind of give us that. I mean, these are PG-13 movies, and Dark
Knight skirted the edge of the PG-13. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely, and I mean, and it hasn't always been like that. I mean, you talking those Batman and Supermans, they're not really. Whereas in Batman Under the Red Hood and I mean, these are, you know, they bring in serious topics of death and different things that I think is really cool. And I hope more people start, you know, watching this and, you know, watching, you know, animated movies to see that, you know, this is just a great way to tell a story. It doesn't have to be anything more than that. You don't have to have the baggage that it's a cartoon. It's just a great story where, as in we talked about how much they've, you know, taken from Batman Begins. You know,
all those little things you liked about the movie, and guess what? Oh, from a comic book.
Yeah, it's all based on a comic book. It was always in comic book first, and you know, like us four, we're on the front lines of buying comics on a regular basis. We all buy different comics, and in that sense, you know, comics come out every Wednesday, and we're reading those stories that, you know, not enough people are reading. Not enough people get to see these stories that are coming out. And so when they kind of bring it and they change it and make it an animated, you know, at least 1 million people are going to watch this because, you know, you'll sell. It's going to sell more than that. And hopefully, you know, they can continue doing this for a long, long time, and hopefully it gets bigger and bigger. But, you know, who knows? Who knows with today's market? I mean,
in all fairness, though, yeah, I mean, definitely that's how I got started with comics, was the X-Men 90s cartoon. So, I mean, it's, you know, kids these days, right? Feel weird saying that, but people our age that don't read comics might catch an episode, you know, on TV or something, and be like, oh, that's cool, you know, and then they'll get more familiar with it. It was just one episode for me, and then led to 2 and then 4, and then start getting those comics. And
luckily, I mean, like for DC, I mean, me and Brady were talking earlier, and us three watched a little bit of a Young Justice episode. I mean, for having a animated show out there that they could do a lot of hokey stuff, I mean, the relationships are good. They have running jokes throughout, and all the episodes are building on top of each other, and they're showing it like a comic book would be. And I mean, I really appreciate what Young Justice is doing for, you know, getting these other people, you know, who are not into comics or not into, you know, DC universe, you know, get a little bit more on this, because, you know, once you get into those big two, you know, it just comes out and you realize that you have to you have to read indies and different things as well, because, you know, the best stories aren't always going to be from Marvel and DC, but like the cops say, man, it's a gateway drug. You know, the big two are a gateway drug into all your other great comics. And so, yeah, I mean, I hope more people watch this. I hope, you know, people see that how good it can be, and, you know, can relate back and tell their friends and borrow the DVD.
Superhero stories are very, you know, it reaches somewhere primal with it, and it's kind of it seems hokey, but it's
exactly.
It's all about, you know,
nerd out a little bit and just enjoy it.
Yeah, and exactly. I mean, just let it go. I mean, let your mind imagine things, and not have to. As many jokes as I crack throughout watching this on how things are unrealistic and different things, you know, I'm loving it at the same time. You know, and so
it is a cartoon.
It is.
It is, or an animation.
It is. It is a cartoon, and it's just like I do just wish that we had kind of the same culture that Japan has in that regards, where, you know, I could talk about a comic book just like I could talk about Breaking Bad or Sons of Anarchy or something else, where I can talk about all those things with people at work, where if I can talk about a comic book, you know, I have to be with like a select group of people who are going to be reading comic books. And, you know, I wish sometimes that would, those cultures would blend a little bit more than they do. And hopefully, you know, putting these animated movies out and putting TV shows out and different things, you know, hopefully get more readers. And I mean, that's the goal of kind of even like our show. I mean, we love talking about comics, but I mean, it's more like comic awareness. We want people to be aware of these different comics that we talk about and these different things that are going on in comic culture. And when Batman Year One gets released on a, you know, animated movie, I mean, it is a kind of a big deal for comic culture, as in, you know, this is a quintessential Batman book that is a game changer, and, you know, now it was finally gone all the way through and made into an animated. It's pretty cool. For sure. Well, anybody got any last notes on what they want to wrap up with, or anything else?
I have to ask this because I saw this today. Should DC/Warner Brothers give Bruce Timm the reins of a live action movie to see what he can do?
After this next one was done?
After Superman, but like, you know, you have, I'm sad to say, a flop, Green Lantern, which was disappointing and sad and makes me want to cry right now. But
there was a lot of potential. But
it had it.
It was,
yes,
drop the ball.
But it seems like there. Well, I remember there was like 4 writers on that movie, which is 3 more than needed. Just pick one and go with it. But Bruce Timm seems to be. He knows what he knows what to do. He knows what to go for.
He's great at adapting.
Animated.
But he's great at adapting stories to be put on a screen.
Yes, but could he do that with? Would you trust him to do that with live action?
Would we trust him?
Yes.
Would the studio trust him?
Not a chance.
Probably not.
Really?
Because they don't want to take any chances.
I would trust him totally. I'm a Bruce Timm fan. I mean, did you see the Conan drawing that he did? That was hilarious.
That was hilarious.
Those clips were good. But I know there's a Flash script in the works. There has been for a while.
Yep.
I'm sure there's a Wonder Woman one out there or something. You know,
there has to be.
There's been, but it keeps imploding.
If you pulled up a website and you saw, you know, the new Flash movie is being produced by Bruce Timm, would you go?
I would totally. I would say Bruce Timm.
Would you be a little worried?
Depends on his involvement.
I'd keep my fingers crossed.
A little worried. That's not bad though.
Well, yeah, it depends on his involvement, because it could be brought to you by Bruce Timm, but is it really?
Yeah.
When it comes to producers, did he just sign his name?
But that's not Bruce Timm. Bruce Timm doesn't do that. So we know that when Bruce Timm is
a collaborative issue.
Yeah, when Bruce Timm is involved in something, he's involved.
You're gonna see him in all the behind the scenes videos of him going, you know.
This is why, I mean, because I mean, I love Justice League Unlimited. I love all these different things that he's done. We have the DVDs. My daughter was just watching Justice League Unlimited tonight,
awesome.
and
Mad
they
props.
Yeah,
And you told her to pick one out, and
yep, exactly.
Justice League, right?
We have My Little Pony, Dora, every single thing else, but she grabbed the Justice League with Aquaman on the cover. He's missing his hand and has his spear at that time.
I would love to see an Aquaman versus Submariner throwdown.
Dude, who would win?
I couldn't tell you. That would be a close call.
I'm not gonna get this fire started. So I'm not saying anything.
Aquaman wins. He's not. He's in the
Submariner. See, Aquaman, I think, has scruples.
Yeah, Aquaman. Submariner would be there going, "Who are you, you little puny man? You'll never defeat me." And then Aquaman would already have like a swordfish's, thing. Telepathically tell the swordfish to go stab Submariner in the head, and it'd be over.
I don't think it would go down.
I'm even a DC guy. I'm not gonna quite go there.
No, but all right. I mean, this is enough discussion for one night. All right, let's wrap it up, John. What do we got here?
All right. Well, what? We're wrapping it up.
Yeah.
You're making me be the bad guy. I get to be the bad guy. But
yeah.
No. Anyways, again, we do appreciate having a very special guest on the show. And hopefully they'll be joining us again for future episodes. This is the month of October, so more sick episodes en route to you there. We're delivering it to you like a hot pizza on a Friday night, literally a Friday night. So
yeah,
for Friday night works for me.
Shooting on a Friday night.
This is why we're wrapping up.
But anyways, thanks so much for checking us out. Issue 16. Wow. And we broke 3,000 hits.
Yes, we did, so that's pretty
amazing.
cool.
Good job, guys.
Yeah, that's good stuff right there.
So, pretty excited about that. But, you guys know where to check us out at. Please send us some emails. We want to do an email show really soon.
Yeah.
So that's at acomicbooklook@gmail.com. Join our Facebook group, A Comic Book Look. It's really awesome, and Corbett always has awesome things that he posts there.
Do you have a Google Plus account yet? I'm pulling that out. Yes, I am.
We don't. We don't have a Google Plus account. We're waiting for John's going to open one of those eventually.
I actually joined Google Plus last week, literally, just to check it out. So I'm still getting familiar with it. So if you're more familiar with it, then you can guide me, and we'll set up that group.
You got it.
And we'll get Google Plus. Okay.
But yeah, and then best place for comic book related discussions, inveteratmediajunkies.com. And thank you guys for watching. We'll be back next week. Is Halloween episode next week?
No, it's 2 weeks from now.
2 weeks for the special Halloween episode.
We'll do amazing.
We'll have a filler in there, but just look forward to the Halloween episode.
You better be wearing costumes.
Oh yeah, oh, God. we have some sick costumes.
I won't be back for that.
So we're not letting anybody else be in this one. This is a me and John awesome fest on Halloween issue.
Wait, maybe Gabe.
Maybe I'm down if he dresses up. I think he got it.
No,
there's lots of
no,
okay.
Anyways, keep it comics. We'll see you next week.